Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of King Me Rev's High Podcast, where today I feel like I finally was able to badger this gentleman down to come on the podcast with me because I have been genuinely intrigued on getting him on the podcast. So I may or may not have asked him several times over different shows for the past 6 months. So luckily for us, he said yes finally, which is amazing. I'm very excited. And to introduce, as I love to do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all genders. Today, we've got a guest who literally turns a pogo stick into a wrestling superpower. A two-time world champion extreme pogo athlete, former Guinness record holder, software engineer, and New England's most innovative flyer. Get ready to bounce into chaos with the leaping Linux Lynx, pogo-powered phenom himself, your reigning and defending chaotic wrestling New England champion of the world, the man with the Pogo, Milo Mirra. Woo!
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me badger you. I know
Yeah, I know you're making it sound like I'm hard to book. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my indifference to like responding to podcast requests, but no, I'm happy I'm here and I'm happy we're getting to do this for sure.
No, I'm definitely excited. You know, JJ and I are big fans of your work. I mean, who isn't, to be honest? Like, well, let's be honest, and I'll say it on air. I said it to the other day. I was like, man, this guy is a great gifted athlete, right? He's handsome as heck, and he's a genius. You gotta save some of the stuff for the rest of us, man. Come on, how am I
Hello.
gonna compete here?
I appreciate the gas up, but we'll
That,
we'll
that's what we
see how the
do.
test of time holds.
Right, right. We gotta hype it up, baby. They gotta hype it up. Um, so today I always love to throw a curveball, mostly because I love subverting expectations. People always, they generally speaking, they like coming on and they expect people to go into maybe one thing or the other. But I'm going to selfishly ask you questions about a topic that I know you've talked about before because I genuinely speaking normally get people on the podcast that have no clue, right? So just like when I've had someone like Landon Hale who was on the podcast and he was generously able to speak with me about 90s WCW, I know that you are a fan of ECW. So
Yeah.
my question curveball for you here is how crazy would it have been for you? Let's take some maybe a rad pro approach here
hmm
and insert your character into 90s ECW. How wild do you think that could have been?
Man, how wild could that have been? I think it would have been insane. I mean, I just the idea of being at the ECW arena like in the 90s, like when they were in their heyday is like insane. Like they were on a generational run for sure. Like I honestly don't think, I mean like maybe GCW is at that point now in like the indie scene, but like
Right.
not really. Like I feel like ECW was like such a lightning in a bottle type thing that was like so cool and really awesome for like all wrestling fans. And I think honestly, like uh it's my love of ECW has shaped how I wrestle for sure. And like that more like high flying aspect of like high flying, high action type of wrestling that ECW is doing is like kind of what I love to do and that I feel like I'd probably fit in, right? Like I mean like I could imagine doing a coast to coast with Rob Van Dam from like I come from outside on the pogo stick, he's jumping for it. Could you imagine the crossing parallel
Right.
coast? Like I
Boom.
there's
Boom.
so many things that could have happened, right? Like yeah, I mean, I could definitely see myself in original ECW. I'd be like I would love to think of myself as an ECW a person, but you know, Alas, we live in a day and age where ECW no longer exists. But
Right. And with all due respect to people like Matt Cardona, I don't count the WWE version.
yeah,
So sorry, bro.
yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite ECW at that point. So
Right. What once you bring in like weird zombie people, it's just the gimmick is gone, my friend. It's over.
yeah, for
Just
sure.
cool. Just cover the field.
Yeah.
Um, no, I honestly, I've obviously watch your stuff all the time. My daughter and I frequent chaotic wrestling, and we've seen you at many different places. We did unfortunately miss you at this past Saturday of Focus Pro.
Mm.
Um,
We had a fun
but
one.
right, we've seen RWA. Honestly, we've seen you at a dozen places or so,
Yeah.
and I always love to bring up your. I mean, first of all, you're just a good guy, right? It's difficult to find genuinely good people in this world, in my opinion. So, um,
Well, I
I will.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's true, and I always just respect anytime you do what you do. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man, how does he? There's been so many times where you go outside the ring and then you come back in the ring the way you do, and I go to work on Monday and I'm just like, you got to see this, man. Like, luckily for me, I record it because I feel like most people wouldn't believe me when I said it's thing, and I literally can just break out my own YouTube channel or my own phone at that point and just be like, here you go,
Yeah.
this is the video, guys. There's the factual proof because they're just like, wait a second, this guy goes outside of the ring with a pogo stick and then he comes back in, and I'm like, listen, there are times where you not even just like from the angle, it almost looks like you're gonna clear the people in the ring and you're just gonna keep going. And I'm just like, this guy.
Yeah, I mean the pogo stick is all new, right? Like it's funny whenever we do it, right? Like I have so much confidence on the pogo stick. It's kind of been a part of me my entire life. I've been doing it since I was 8. So like at this point, 21 years of jumping on a pogo stick. So I'm so comfortable on a pogo stick, but then it's like, wrestling's a collaborative effort. So trying to talk to people about doing pogo spots, and like whenever I come up with ideas, like people are always like, you can do that on a pogo stick? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Like, yeah, it's always fun to like work those spots out with my fellow wrestlers, and also like you said, sometimes it does feel like I'm gonna fly over them, and I respect the hell out of my opponents for like trusting me to fly off of a pogo stick about 10 feet in the air and land on them. So I
Right.
appreciate all of them for that.
See, and this is the thing I love about Nepwa. You guys always start answering my questions before I ask them because that was my next question. I was gonna ask you, and maybe to add some salt on it. Is there a spot that like you try, or maybe obviously, as I always say here, people, this is a smoke free zone. We're not here to hurt other people's feelings or call people out or put them on blast. But have there been people that you've told them this is what I want to do, and they're just like, absolutely not, I'm not going to try that, or you had to kind of coerce them more?
I mean, that happens in wrestling constantly, you know? Like, I mean, like,
Of course.
yeah, I mean, we come into matches, right? And everybody's had a different level of training that week, or different matches they had that week, depending on who you're working, and like also depending on the situation we're at the venue, right? Like, sometimes I'm at venues where I literally can't pogo stick. Either the ceiling is too low, or like the floors are just really bad, and I'm gonna like break through them if I jump on my pogo stick. So I mean, like that happens constantly. Um, as well as like, sometimes I just like I'm wrestling people who have wrestled a lot in the last like week, and they're like, "Hey man, like I'm trying to take it kind of easy." That's honestly like I respect it sometimes. Like sometimes you gotta, you pick and choose which matches are gonna be your all out 100% matches. Um, yeah, I mean like yeah, I not yeah, like I'm not gonna call anybody out specifically, but it's happened, right? Like it's happened where it's like I suggest a spot and somebody's like, nah, I don't really think it fits for this match, right? Um, and most of the time I agree, right? But like, sometimes, we just don't agree on which spots fit where, and sometimes you just gotta. Wrestling is such a collaboration between opponents, and sometimes you got to compromise and pick and choose which ones you do. So
See, and that's such a genuinely beautiful metaphor for life because
mhm.
in life you don't get what you want, man.
Yeah.
You gotta be willing to compromise, and it's something I tell other people, people I've mentored, my
Yeah.
children on a regular basis. Life is all about compromise. And
Hmm.
if you're not able to go into a situation and make sure that both sides are at least comfortable with what they're doing,
Hmm.
or at the very least equally uncomfortable with what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? Then you just might be a selfish jerk, right? So
Yeah. No, you're totally
it,
right.
it's always better to be like, hey man, I don't know if I can do that spot. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
It makes total sense, you know. There's a guy like Godric, right? He's been doing those super splashes off the top rope. I'm sure
Shooting
there's
stars.
plenty.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple of people that are like, I don't know if I want to see your shooting star press onto my face. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks amazing when he pulls it off,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there's some people like, I don't know about that one, bro. I've taken,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
wrestling is such a like. It's also like the wrestling match will come out better if you are willing to compromise with your opponent and you're also willing to just do the things you're good at. I mean, like the thing, like the thing we always say at Nepal, we have like a bunch of sayings that we always kind of like leave at, right? And like one of the sayings is like, um, the people only know what you show them, right? So like if you can't do something, right, it's better for you to say, I don't think I can do that, right? Like if you feel like you can't do it, like why would we try it for the first time in front of, 300 people, right?
right.
And sometimes things are better left for training when we want to try things and like mess them up. That's fine. Like I think last night I had a training match where I was wrestling Prince Jamari in a training match, right? And we had like a 3 minute speed match at training last night. And we called a spot where he was doing a move that he hadn't really done, but I was like, I think this would be a great move for you, and you should try it. And so we did it in the match. It didn't come out perfectly, but like it fit in the spot, and it ends up being a good move that he's probably going to use from now on, right? So like those are the places to try new things. And in like actual matches, like sometimes you just got to be honest with yourself and like with your opponent and be like yeah, I love the idea, but like I don't think I can execute it perfectly, which is kind of one of the crazy things about wrestling and live performances is that like sometimes you just got to be honest with yourself and say, I don't think I can do that, and I think it's gonna ruin the spot if we can't do it. So let's think of something else, right? And there's always that push pull with everybody you're wrestling, So
Right. You gotta work within the bounds of the people you're working with.
yeah.
And it's it's just so much better on a long-term scale to be in that collaborative mindset.
Hmm.
Um, which is why that's something that I've always personally loved about professional wrestling is because so many people will look at and make no mistake about it, all right? My son's name is Sean. I named him after Shawn Michaels, all right? So when people talk about, hey man, aren't you a big mark? Obviously, because his middle name is Austin, and I named him after Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I'm about as big a mark as it gets. I understand this. But when it comes down to that collaborative effort, you really can't get over if you can't find someone to dance with, my friends.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to do something. You got to be able to work with other people. And quite frankly, for people like me who may not have the athletic prowess that you do, well, that's awesome because I do know how to hold a camera and you want people to see what you just did. So it works out.
Yeah.
It works out. Someone's got to hold the camera, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like you say that, right? Like, not having the athletic prowess. I think one of the beautiful things about professional wrestling, right, is that, like, yes, we do, it is a very athletic thing we do, right? But, like, professional wrestling is, like, the one, like, live performance, like, sports entertainment product where, like, yes, we have the people who are super athletes and, like, can do these crazy things and wrestle 30 to 60-minute matches of doing crazy spots constantly. But then you also have like non-athletic people who are doing like really cool, fun gimmicks and like entertaining stuff, right? Because wrestling doesn't have to be about the actual wrestling portion of professional wrestling. It's like the only thing in the world where like if I were to like literally like it's the only thing in the world where like you could have one of the active participants in the match be a lifeless doll, and that's totally believable, and we can make it like a real thing, right? Like like wrestling is like it's what I love about it is that it's such a like smorgasbord of things, and like there's really a place in wrestling for like everything. And if you can think of a way to like have a fight between, a puppet iguana and like a crazy demon king, right? Like
Yeah,
that can
yeah.
happen, right?
It could
So
happen.
yeah, so
Anything could happen.
yeah,
I was actually just telling JJ about the idea that Braun Strowman won tag team gold once with like an 8-year-old kid he pulled out of the crowd named Nick.
yeah,
And she basically there was now I can't remember which show we were coming home from. We go to like 2 or 3 wrestling shows a weekend, and we were coming home from a show, and I was like, well, if anything happens, you got to get in there and help him out. And she was like, what am I gonna do? And I was like, well, Nick became tag champion. You could do it
yeah.
to, especially like I would say Friday's spot. My daughter absolutely loves and adores Mortar and
Mm-hmm.
Jaleesa to no end.
Mm-hmm.
She has actually adopted them as her wrestling parents, and she actually currently has her fingernail polish has their names on it and everything. So
Oh,
like,
that's cute.
she's
Yeah,
super. She loves them, and so when she
I love
saw,
them too. By the
yeah,
way,
they're great. They're
two
great
two of my
people.
best friends. So
So yeah, she literally has their. She has relentless. She gave she calls them relationship names, ship names. So she's called them Jal Mortar, right? And she also has Cat Mike. So she has um Mike Grassa and Katie Prescott, and she has something called an emotional support stuffed animal, and she named it after it's called Cat Mike, and then
Mm,
she has a bunny named Jowl Mortar, named after
nice.
Jaleesa and Mortar. So she carries around Jowl Mortar to school. It's her little buddy and everything, and she literally has the same thing on her fingernails right now. She actually got
Nice.
them like she I don't know how much her mom paid. I'm just gonna say good job, mom. Um, she got it done on her fingernails as well. So when she saw Mortar get hurt on Friday, she's like, oh, she was in tears. I'm not kidding you when I'm saying this kid was crying, and I
Yeah.
was literally like praying to God that it was a work, and I was like, it's just a work, it's just an angle, it's just a work. And I didn't know. I'm not part of the crew. I have no idea. But I was just like praying to God because she has been there for a couple of people that she did like a lot, and they genuinely got hurt, and then she's doing the little waterworks, and so she's sitting there trying not to cry, and I'm sitting there going, just watch, he's going to come back out at the end. And this is me praying once again, guys, I have no clue. I don't work there, okay? But I'm praying at the end he's going to come back out at the end and do something, and luckily he did, right? um and she was like, see, he's still limping, and I'm like, but they wouldn't let him come back out if he was actually going to die. And I had to like, we had to be like, if I go back and listen to that video that I recorded, it's going to be 90% me trying to talk her off a ledge.
Hey man, there's a I listen, I know you say we wouldn't let Mortar out there if he was gonna die, but he says there's no gods, no kings, only Mortar. So
Yeah, I
Mortar
know.
does what Mortar wants to do. So we
Yeah, yeah.
he's
There's no doubt about that one. Um, but I was like, listen, you got to get in there and help him, right? That's your wrestle dad. Go save dad. And she was just like, oh, no. And I was like, it was wild. But
yeah, it's fun.
I sometimes you got to talk this kid off a ledge.
Yeah,
Woo. I still. There's another thing. I'll put a pin in that. I don't want to put it on recording. She'll probably kill me. Uh, she will kill me. She's like, I know where you sleep, old man. Which I got in trouble for saying that last week with Katie Prescott because she called JJ calls me the old man, and I call myself an old man, and Katie's like, you're not that much older than me. Does that make me old? Does that make me pre-old? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm in trouble now. Gotta
Yeah, I
shut
mean,
up.
I don't know. I always struggle with the fact that I'm getting older. I'm rapidly approaching 30 years old, so I am
Dude, I'm 40.
yeah. I know it's always that game of like I always say I'm getting old, and then an older person goes, "You're not old,"
You're
right?
not exactly. I'm
It'll happen.
40. But
It'll
there's some
happen until I'm like 70 years old, right?
right. And some guy will be walking down the street and be like, "You're only 40. Shut up, young man."
Yeah, right, right, right.
Uh, so you talked about it. Training at obviously most people would actually know Nepois as Nepois for the uninitiated, the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, um, with two of the best coaches you can get in the business.
Yeah.
What was it like going to Nepois with the pogo stick and convincing them to let you integrate that into your gimmick, whatever term you want to use?
It's it's really funny that you ask it that way because I tried to avoid using the pogo stick at all costs when I first
Oh,
started.
really? Okay, wow.
Yes, which is it's funny. It wasn't me convincing them. It was the other way around. So I mean, like I came to Nepwa as I was still competing pogo stick in like world championships and stuff. I actually the a couple weeks before my fantasy camp, my first time at Nepwa, I actually sprained my MCL doing a live pogo competition on ESPN2. So I was on live TV, sprained my knee. It was a good time. But anyways, uh, so I mean, like I was still actively pogoing, professionally as well as trying to get into the wrestling business. But I mean, I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. I've been a wrestling fan. I actually I don't remember a time in my life where I wasn't a wrestling fan. Like wrestling has been a part of my life forever. My older brother, I have an older brother. He's 12 years older than me, and he's kind of been my role model like my whole life. I love him to death, and he was super into professional wrestling. So when I was probably watching wrestling that I shouldn't have been watching at like 4 or 5 years old, but that's what I was doing. I would hang out with my brother in his room. We'd watch wrestling. I'd watch him play video games, that sort of thing. So wrestling's always been a part of my life. I've always been a wrestling fan. Wrestling has been a separate thing for me than pogo. So when I started at Nepwa, I really wanted to be a professional wrestler. Like I was very, very focused on like I knew I had the pogo stick, right? Like I knew I didn't tell anybody at first about the pogo stick stuff. I figured it always comes out. It's not hard to figure out. Like if you know my name, like my shoot name, you can find all of my
Right, right.
stuff. So I knew it would come out, but like, so I was probably training for about 2 months before I went to a class with Scott, Max Smashmaster, and he goes, oh, so like, I was doing pretty well at training. Like I'm a pretty athletic guy. I was doing pretty well, and so he was kind of asking me, what's your athletic background? Like, what have you done? And then I mentioned the fact that I mentioned all my other stuff first. It was like, I was a baseball player. I was a D1 ultimate frisbee player, all that stuff. And then I was like, and I was a professional pogo sticker for like 15 years. And he goes, professional pogo sticker. He goes, show me a video. I showed him one video, and Scott goes, yeah, this is your gimmick, and you're doing it. He goes, I'm not gonna let you not do it. He was like, this is so unique, and you could make this such a thing in wrestling, and nobody else is doing it. You have to do it. And so that's kind of when it started. And Rad Pro was actually the first place I used the pogo stick. So, which is Smashmaster's promotion. So, yeah. So it's funny that you ask it in a way like how did I convince them? It wasn't that. It was that they convinced me to put it as a part of my gimmick. So,
Scott is
yeah.
pretty smart, man. He knows his stuff. Um, See, and that's just, I mean, once again, you really got to do shout out to Scott to think that up, but he's right. I when I bring up when I bring you up as a subject to people who may not be familiar with independent wrestling, because I know a ton of people who love wrestling, but they don't pay attention to the indies at all. They just watch WWE or AEW or whatever, which is fine.
I mean, I think that's a majority of wrestling fans, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's just how it is.
So when I bring you up and I start um, talking about you, they'll ask like the same like 5 or 6 questions over and over again, right? So I've almost almost got the sales pitch down where
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, so his name's Milo Mirra and he's the whole background. And then I'll go into what you do. And then they always want to see like, how do you incorporate it into the ring? So I
Mhm.
normally start off with the finding a video of you, when you do the big jump into the ring. Maybe I'll show them your actual entrance because you'll jump up onto the turnbuckle or whatever from the outside.
Yeah, which got
And
me in trouble on Friday.
yeah, oops. Um, and the second question, and somebody brought this up the other day actually when I was talking to them, they always wonder if you're going to use it as a weapon.
Mm.
And it's funny that we talk about Scott because it was very much used against Arcturus, for you becoming the New England champion, and I've showed some videos on that. My question for you is, knowing how much Scott's been a part of your wrestling career, what was it like beating him for the title?
I Unreal, right? Like I mean, like I have spent so much time training with Scott and learning from him that like this was kind of like I don't want to say like I hope it's not the last time we get to wrestle each other for sure. I know Scott's kind of he's getting older and he's kind of winding down a lot of his bookings, but um, it truly was like it felt like almost like the final thesis, right, for your college course, right? Where it's like, okay, my trainer's been teaching me all this stuff. Now it's time to implement this stuff in a story with him, right? Um, and to say I learned a, a ton from that storyline is an understatement because it's like, I the pogo stick character, right? Like I'm still trying to find it, right? Like I think it's like I think naturally me Steve, right? Not Milo, right? Steve is a fairly like stoic person. Like I'm not super like, loud or anything like that. So trying to find that like baby face fire and character of like getting people behind me and being like this charismatic, like loud person for people to be able to cheer for and do that is not natural for me. I'm definitely more of a natural heel when it comes to wrestling, which is funny because now I never wrestle heel anymore. I'm always a baby face, but I definitely feel more comfortable being a heel. So learning how to be a babyface and like figuring out that character and figuring out like who Milo is as a character has been something I've been trying to do, and it was kind of started with that storyline with Scott, right? Like it was the first real like long term storytelling for Milo where it was like how does the pogo stick relate in with Milo's character? Where do the wrestling and the pogo stick intersect? Do I have to use the pogo stick to beat people? Right? Like, am I tied to the pogo stick, or can I do it without it? Right? And I think that was kind of the story we were trying to get at with me and Scott and Arcturus, right? Um, which I think we delivered on. I enjoyed it, and I learned so much from Scott in character development and storytelling, and kind of building matches to a point where, like, if you're going to wrestle somebody multiple times over the course of a few shows, like, you can't give them everything at the beginning. You have to kind of you're kind of building a match over 5 different matches, right? And that, we ended up culminating in a street fight, right? But you kind of build those other matches to kind of lead to that last match where you get the payoff and all of the story you've had up until that point kind of feeds into the match. And so, yeah, I mean, I learned so much from Scott, and yeah, I mean, he's an incredible trainer. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Nepla and my trainers. It's been an incredible experience over the last 4 years. So.
And you said something that kind of grabbed me there, and it's something that I actually tried to bring up with JJ recently because she's young,
Mhm.
right? She hasn't watched as much wrestling as I have. I'm like you have. I literally have watched wrestling my entire life, right? So there have been times where I've tried to have maybe she won't understand like an angle or why something would have happened. And we will be in the car driving home, and I'll have to try to explain it to her, like why certain things are set up the way they are, right? And one of the big things that's come up with you recently, actually, was after the Arcturus, which we loved. I mean, hands off to the both of you. I think you guys did a really great job showing the crowd. That entire setup between you and the group of them, and then you pick them all off one by one, and you finally get you and Arcturus really just like one on one, that street fight for the title, and it you know that crescendo, right? And you get the belt. And then the next one you did is Aaron Rourke. And I was trying to I think maybe JJ was just a little too upset because she didn't like seeing Aaron as a heel. She loves Aaron, so she didn't like seeing him as a heel. But
Yeah,
I
I
was
will say I didn't like seeing him as a heel either. So
right, yeah, because he where you're in Tewksbury, and you guys have this great match, and then it sounds like he's gonna say wonderfully nice things about you, and then he just attacks you out of nowhere, and JJ is just like, "Oh my God, what is going on now?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Welcome to the club." But um, you guys had your blow off match, as you could say, 2 out of 3 falls, that type of thing. I was trying to explain to JJ, how it's similar to that same workup with keep on. He's had so many Smash Master, Arcturus,
yeah,
Scott. Um,
man of
but
many
my
gimmicks.
right. So, what's it like knowing that you're working with this person who's been, a friend of yours for so long, but he's got that extra title on the end of his name now, WWEID.
I
How
mean,
does that feel?
it feels, I'm always honored to have the opportunities that I do through Chaotic, and it's funny talking about Aaron, right? Like he is a WWE ID guy, but like I knew Aaron long before that, and we trained together. I very much credit Aaron as one of my trainers as well, one of my mentors, one of my trainers. Like he helped me when I first started. Like it was we used to have Wednesday nights used to be open ring at NEPWA. They're not anymore, but we used to just have open ring, so there was no class. And a lot of the times it was just me and Aaron in there just working on stuff. And I was so new that I was just learning so much stuff. And we would just kind of wrestle on the fly together constantly for hours on Wednesday nights. So we spent a lot of time together. Um, I don't want to say like, his accolades are incredible and he deserves all of them. But like, I almost want to say it's almost like a non-factor going into it, right? Like I don't want to I try to treat all of my opponents and all of my matches as like they're all very important and they're all like you're getting 100% of me every single time I step into the ring. So I kind of took that same mindset to wrestling Aaron Rourke, and obviously I respect him to no end, and I respect all of his feedback and everything. But I feel like the WWE ID tag, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't like yes, it gives him more name recognition, but when I'm approaching it, right, it's more of like um I don't approach it any differently. It's just more of a I want to have good matches all the time. So let's have these be good too. And like Aaron, like I said, me and Aaron were really good friends. But so it was easy. It was easy to kind of just pick up and work with him. We already have a rapport and a chemistry. So yeah,
Which is great for any well, and I guess maybe I should phrase it like this actually. Now that I think about it, because I've asked this question a couple of times, got a couple of different answers. Do you, as a professional wrestler right now, do you still watch tape?
yeah,
And and
yeah.
and do you have a mindset going into watching tape? For instance, someone like Shannon, she was on the podcast. She talked about she only watches tapes of her opponents or of people she may end up wrestling someday so that she can scout them. And then there's people like, let's say, Julius Traeger, who was on the podcast, recently, and he
Mhm.
talked about how he only goes back and really watches like maybe like old WWF, WCW tapes, AWA, NWA for more character development on his own person and not really worrying about other people. So, do you said you watch tape? When you watch tape, what are you watching it for?
Yeah, I mean, like, I watch a lot of wrestling. I mean, like, I'm a fan at heart, so sometimes it's hard to turn off the wrestler brain, and just watch as a fan. Sometimes, I try to watch all of the pay-per-views. Like, I try to watch all of the pay-per-views when they're out. I don't really watch weekly shows anymore, but that's because I just, I'm doing so much wrestling on the weekends that, like, I get home on a Wednesday night and I'm like, I'm gonna watch Survivor, not Dynamite. Uh, so like, but um, when I go to look for tape, right, I'm looking for, I tend to, I do the same as Shannon. I always, whenever I'm wrestling people, I will always try to find matches they've had that are accessible to me, either on IWTV or YouTube, and I will watch. I'll watch at least one of their matches, right? I generally want to get a vibe for like what kind of moves they do, what kind of character they are. Whether that be like, are they, it's not just babyface or heel, right? There's different flavors of babyface and heel, right? Are
Oh
they
yeah,
uh are
of
they
course.
like a fiery, quick moving babyface, or are they just like a kind of a funny, silly character babyface? Are they That also applies to heels, right? Like, are they fast moving? Are they hard hitting? Are they silly heels? Are they, do they cower away from their baby faces? Those sorts of things to think about character wise. And then I also, I'm also looking at, their move sets and what they do. So that way I can start thinking of, okay, here are the moves they do. Usually I have a notebook. I have a notebook at home that whenever I watch matches of my opponents, I'll usually have like a page for them in my book, and I write down. I'll just take notes. The first time I watch the match, I just take notes of like what they're doing. That way, when we go to call a match later, right, I might already have ideas of how to populate, like, oh, I saw that you do, you do a a really good spine buster, right? Can we like figure out a way to work this in with some move I do, right? Like, I do the bottom rope springboard forearm, maybe. And this is just me shooting off my head, right? Like, maybe it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
on a
of course.
spot, we run a spot, we bounce off the bottom rope, you catch me spine buster, right? That sort of thing is like the things I'm trying to think about when I'm watching tape. As for like my own development, I tend to watch a lot of older wrestling, not old as in like WWF, WCW era. I tend to watch like mid 2000s ROH is what I watch. I really like love Brian Danielson and Kenny Omega and all those guys. That like and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels, and those guys are like, I think, some of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So I I um I try to really study their peak main event scene in ROH, and that's kind of been my like go-to tape study recently, is just like watching those matches and seeing like how they structure them, where they place certain things, and what their style of storytelling in a wrestling match is. So yeah, I mean, that's like my tape study 101 for Milo Mirra, but yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with some mint Ring of Honor any day
Mhm.
of the week. For any fans listening, we would have had PG the chef on here, and him and I went very deep in the Ring of Honor love because that I mean, if it wasn't for Ring of Honor, in my opinion, Ring of Honor is what really made Black and Gold happen. And then if it wasn't for Black and Gold, we wouldn't have the women's revolution that we do right now. And if it wasn't for Black and Gold, I mean, most of the people that are top stars in the world came from that. So it's
For
kind of
sure.
hard to dispute. Most of them were poached from Ring of Honor. You got, I mean, you talked about Joe. I mean, whether it's AEW or WWE at this point, it doesn't. It's irregardless. The idea is
Yeah, I
that
mean, you have so many names:
so
Joe,
many names. We could
Steen, Zane, yeah,
Right. We could be here.
AJ.
Somebody could be like, oh, they did mention this guy, bro. I'll mention him. We don't have all day
Yeah,
for this. Okay, I can't
yeah,
just.
yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I get it. He was there. And he was awesome too. Whoever you're thinking in your mind. Yep, I agree with you. Okay. Um, I mean, one of my favorite all-time guys is Jay Lethal, and we haven't seen him at a WrestleMania. So hello, all right, get with the program, guys. But the wonderful thing about that particular type of wrestling, and that's actually some of the stuff, because I feel like, with all due respect to WWE, there was a lull time where some people weren't as happy with what they were producing, and I feel like that was really the neogenesis for something like Ring of Honor, because some of those hardcore fans were looking for something that wasn't PG, that wasn't watered down, and they got it with Ring of Honor. I was very fortunate to see many of Ring of Honor shows. In fact, I think it was 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in that particular time. I went to a Ring of Honor show in Lowell, and it was the first time I got to talk to AG, because he was the champion at the time, and he was outside passing out flyers. And I had just seen him there was a show they had done for veterans. I'm a veteran, I'm an Army veteran. There was a kind of a hodgepodge of people that had done a show in Concord, New Hampshire, and that was the first time I got to see AG live and him do the whole retro thing, and I was like, I freaking love this guy. And then I saw him in the parking lot the next week passing out flyers, and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
aren't you great? He's like, yeah, man, come to the show, and I'm like, yes, I will. Whatever you say, let's go. um, which, and this is another thing that I was gonna talk about, the idea of, man, does Nepwa have some names? We talked about names. Nepwa has some names, and Nepwa has guys like AG, guys like Dijak, guys that have been to the dance, they've seen it all, they've done it all, and they came home. What's it like drinking from that knowledge fountain?
I mean, it's incredible. Wednesday class with AG and Dijak is a wealth of knowledge every time I go. It's life gets in the way sometimes, and I don't get to go to all their classes. But the classes I do get to go to, like I learn so much from them. Like they are so good at all of the little things of wrestling, like Dijak and AG both. Like, AG is probably one of the most creative wrestlers I have ever seen, maybe the most creative wrestler I've ever seen. Like, the stuff he thinks of doing in a ring is crazy. It's awesome, and the things just like come to his head, and I wish I had that power. But yeah, and then Dijak, right? Like, I mean, Dijak is probably one of the best in-ring talents of our generation. Like,
Mm.
he is. I mean, for some reason, management doesn't see it, but like Dijak is an incredible in-ring talent, and he has the matches to back it up. I mean, he's had multiple match of the years in NXT, and like and throughout his time at ROH and all those things. Like, and even now his indie run, now he's
Yeah,
going to shows and putting on the best match at every show he's at, right? Like, he's incredible.
yeah.
And
His
so
tag team is his. We had him on the podcast. We really talked to him about his tag team run,
mm,
and the stuff that him and Bishop Dyer have been doing is
yeah.
absolutely insane. So
Yeah, I mean, he's just he's such an incredible talent, and getting to learn from them is I'm incredibly grateful every time I go there, right? Like, and go to their classes, and it's always the little things with Dijak and AG that we get. I mean, like, there's I get the little things from every trainer at NEPWA. Every trainer at NEPWA is really good, but the like having that knowledge from Dijak and AG, who have been in NXT and been on the main roster even for Dijak, right? Like, knowing, like, what is it actually like to wrestle on Monday Night Raw, right? Like, what are you actually going through? Like, what's the process? And also, like, what are they looking for? Like, what are the things they want in a match, right? And I promise you, it's very different than what an independent show is looking for in a match, right? Like, they're not remotely the same thing. Um, so it is interesting to like kind of get that knowledge of like TV style versus independent style, and also like working in that way. So yeah. It's great. It's incredible to learn from them.
Right. And as a shameless self promoter here, if you have not watched the episode where we interview Donovan Dijak, go back because I
Should.
actually boldly ask him the psychology of what it's like at a place like WWE as opposed to MLW or an indie show. And he went into very great detail. So
Hmm.
thank you for queuing that up for me. So I just like a tin ball. Boom, baby. So always talking wrestling. It's wrestling. Of course we are. That's what we do. But I like to throw in a little spice every once in a while. Besides being Mr. World Pogo of the Year and a PWI, wrestler, what do you do for fun? What do you do to take yourself out of that mindset and give yourself a break from this whole thing?
Oh, I wish I could ever take my mind off wrestling. Um, no, no,
The real answer, guys.
I do things. I have a lovely girlfriend who I've been with for almost 9 years now. Where she's the best, and we do a lot of things together outside of wrestling. She's not a wrestling fan at all, and I kind of love that she's not a wrestling fan because when we hang out, it's not about wrestling at all. So that's good.
Right.
The other thing, I play a lot of video games. I'm a big video game guy. Recently, Slay the Spire 2 has been taking all of my time, as well as MLB The Show 26. Both those games just came out, so I've been playing them a lot. I do that. Yeah, I kind of just that's mainly it. Sometimes I play Ultimate Frisbee if I have the time. That was my sport in college, and I do love doing that. So I sometimes still play Ultimate when there are pickup games going on. But yeah, I spend a lot of time wrestling, so the free time is hard to come by. But hanging out with friends and kind of playing video games are kind of my go-tos.
So you're a baseball fan?
Yes,
What you used to play baseball too, you said?
I did. I was a catcher for a
Catcher.
long time. Yes.
Man, that must have been rough on the legs, man. You gotta have strong
Yeah.
legs. You gotta have strong legs. This guy
My
kicks like a mule, I swear.
my ankles and knees are a little rough, but we get through.
Yeah, unfortunately, America didn't win the classic. It was very
Unfortunately.
sad. Good on you, Venezuela. You gotta get a W somewhere. But I'm a huge baseball fan, so
Nice.
um, it time for a little more shameless self promotion, I guess. But for anybody who's been paying attention, I've been doing bonus podcasts where I bring in some extra people to talk about other things besides wrestling because a lot of people ask me questions. I just had on someone talking about kava, which is a beverage I drink. It's an anti-anxiety beverage. We had somebody come on talking about veganism. Maddie eats vegan. Um, Tomorrow I'm going to record a person you should actually be familiar with. She does all of the makeup and body effects art for
Anna.
Nepwa and general stuff. Anna, yeah, Anya, and then I am in the works of having a Hall of Fame baseball player come on the podcast, guys. So boom, here we go. It's gonna it's
Exciting.
gonna be incredible. We've been working with the general manager of a ball club, and uh, you know he's a little busy, but I think I'm gonna be able to steal him for some time. So I think it's gonna be great.
That's sweet.
Um, Video games, man. That's me and TJC. We're vegging out about video games. Do you do you have like maybe and this is something I've been asking now because I've gotten some really good answers, so I have to ask this one. Do you have any really good or wild or strange either on the road or at a particular venue stories that you went to some weird venue that you couldn't believe you were there, or you were on the road and had some wacky adventures? Because I've been getting some really good answers lately, so I have to ask.
I did have the one that immediately comes to mind is we had a fun trip one time. We were supposed to race. It was me, Paris Van Dale, and Armani Chaos. We were driving down to Long Island. We were supposed to wrestle at Create a Pro. Um, And we're driving down there from Boston. And to get to Long Island from Boston, you either have to go around into the city and around onto the island, or you have to take the ferry. Um, Most of us don't want to pay for ferry tickets. So we tend to try and drive around. But this time, as we're driving, Armani was driving, and he didn't realize that he had mapped up to the ferry.
Oh
So
no.
so it's a funny, we're driving, we get there, Armani's like, "Oh yeah, I think we're here." Then it's like, "Oh no, we're at the ferry." It also had been pouring rain outside. This was the fun weekend where Brooklyn was just completely flooded. So we end up getting to the ferry. We're trying to decide what we want to do because at this point, right, it's either we take the ferry and we make it there like a half an hour late, or we don't take the ferry and then now we're 2 hours late. We're past bell time. So we might as well just turn around and go home. um, so we make the decision to they're freaking out. Paris has never been on a boat. Armani doesn't know about bringing his car on the boat. And I'm just like, guys, I've been on a ferry a bunch of times. I'm gonna buy the tickets. I'll just go buy the tickets. I'm about to go buy. I go buy the tickets. I get the tickets. We come back to the car. We were in line to get on the ferry, and just before we're about to get on the ferry, we get a text from the Creator Pro people, and they go, "Hey guys, I'm sorry if you're on your way, but due to the flooding, we're canceling the show." So we just did this 2.5 hour drive, bought ferry tickets. Long story short, we kind of I'm able to return the tickets, and we did all this rigmarole to get on the ferry that we didn't have to. We drive back to Boston, and the fun part I didn't add to all of this is that I had food poisoning this entire time.
Oh wow.
So I'm in the back of the car dying, like stopping at gas stations, throwing up. We're doing all this whole thing, and now we're about to get on the ferry. Then the show gets canceled. So I spent about 5 hours in a car, unnecessarily, unfortunately. So
That is the worst. Hopefully you brought a bucket or something. I don't
I
know.
ended up doing okay. There was no puke in the car, but we were good.
Oh man, that is some wild times. I've definitely heard some really good stories, and honestly, it just kind of low key gets me mentally prepared for someday where I get to fortunately do something along those lines. Um, it was actually Dijak himself who was telling I for lack of a better term, I kind of almost buried myself in my own podcast, and he was like, "Hey man, just take it easy. You haven't even started yet. Give yourself a break, all right?" And I was like, "All right, well, I think I'll be all right. If at the very least, if you need a guy to be very hyper and get the crowd going, just call me. It's literally the most fun thing I could ever do in my life." So, but at least Lauren St. James, I should say, and this is why I think about it. She when in the podcast I did with her, she brought up the idea that most wrestlers are either very tired or just don't want to drive in general. So if you want to get on the card, if you're willing to drive everyone everywhere, you'll probably make it. And I was like, perfect. Sounds good.
I definitely appreciate my people who are willing to drive to shows. It's usually me a lot of the time, but
And you know what? It's I was gonna say it, but I was gonna laugh because last time we JJ and I were at Rad Pro, we were sitting outside talking to a couple people that are always there, and you walked by us, and we're like, and I was like, where is he going? And JJ's like, I have an idea, and I'm like, okay, and then we finally like, oh my God, we got to go home, we got to be up, so we started walking away, and then we saw you coming back with the truck. So you were driving the truck, and we were like, "Oh, that's." And JJ's like, "I knew it. I
yeah,
knew he went to get the truck."
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
knew.
I am the resident ring truck driver for Chaotic and Rad Pro.
So
So
so many
uh,
talents. We just got to make sure to tell Ilis and or Shannon Levangie not to jump off it while it's moving. Sounds good.
yeah, I don't know. It would be pretty cool.
Would be pretty cool. Yeah, we do have Shannon Levangie Jr., another ESSA, and Shanny, as we call her, likes to jump off things just like her older counterpart.
There
So
you go.
we'll probably have to do a video now where when JJ sees this of us of us having Shanny jump off of something while it's in motion.
Nice.
Whoops, whoops. I'll now have to figure that one out. So we just have a few more minutes before we wrap up. I definitely wanted to ask you a couple of more things.
Sure.
For yourself, all right, when you are, and maybe I'll put it like this, all right. Do you have any dream opponents or dream promotions that you'd love to work for right now?
Yes. I mean, I tend to keep my like goals and stuff pretty close to my chest. I don't. I'm like, this is me. Like maybe this will get me heat with other wrestlers. I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan of like the post a list of people you want to wrestle and like hope that some promoter sees it and then books you. I'd rather these things happen organically. So I tend to not talk about things that are like feel more tangible to me. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about like dream opponents, it's usually people who are on TV who are like doing crazy stuff. I would love to wrestle Javon Evans. He's awesome. Like super cool. He's doing all the bouncy stuff. I jump on a pogo stick. I don't know. I think we could do something pretty cool.
It works.
Yeah. I think we could do
Chemistry's
something.
chemistry.
There's on the indies, I mean there's a lot of people. I haven't wrestled Richard Holiday. Richard Holiday is awesome, and I have a feeling he's not going to be on the indies for very long. So if I were to get a match with Richard Holiday, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Other than that, I think I'm probably going to keep a lot of this stuff to myself. I mean, like dream promotions wise, I think like I'd love to wrestle on AEW. I love what's going on at AEW. So getting there someday would be really fun.
Right. No, I totally respect that. I mean, there's so many. For me, one of the best things about professional wrestling is there's no right or wrong, and there's no one way of doing things.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own way of how they got to the dance. There are people who, that probably never you would have thought in a million years would make it. And then all of a sudden, we got not to throw shade here, but all of a sudden, I mean, I remember being a kid going, I can't believe there's a one-legged professional wrestler on TV right now. This kid got paid. There have been people who have gone to WWE just to do a one-off thing, and somehow it became an overnight sensation, and they were there for 4 years with a job. Like,
Yeah.
it's that stuff. Like some people are like, oh, you're talking trash. No, I'm literally saying how much I love that stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
incredible. You just never know what's going to happen. There could be a guy who does a one-off thing. I mean, some random kid named Nick, like it just got to become the tag champions. There's people that have been able to do all kinds of weird random things, and you would have never, in the traditional sense, they would have never made it. Let's just be honest. They would have never made it.
I mean, it's like that thing we talked about earlier. I mean, like there's a place in wrestling for everyone, and you never know what the fans are gonna connect to and react to, right? Like, you have an idea, but like a lot of the times, the things we think fans are gonna resonate with, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they really do, and sometimes they resonate with things that like we kind of thought were just gonna be kind of brush over things, and sometimes they really resonate with it, and you're like, oh my God, okay, let's run with it. Right? Like, I mean, the example that comes to my mind is James Ellsworth. Like, that's the one
Yeah,
that comes
I
to
was
my
trying not
mind
to say that one, but
immediately. Yeah, but like,
that's basically what I was talking about.
yeah, I mean, like that's the one that comes to mind immediately. Like,
Easily.
you show up
Yeah.
as a jobber, and now you're wrestling AJ Styles for the WWE title multiple times. Like, come on, like that's awesome. It's awesome.
Only in pro wrestling is that possible. This
Yeah,
guy shows up and there's no reason why he should have a job. Now he's got one of the most beautiful women in the world. He's just walking around with her. It's like, what? What? How did that happen?
yeah.
America, baby, I love it. That's why I love it. Now I have to ask this question, and I probably should have asked it sooner because people always ask me this question about you, and I don't know anything. And I don't know how many times I have to tell these people that I don't know anything about pogo sticks. I don't know. But what kind of pogo stick do you use so I could send this to these people, and how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, I jump on. It's called a Vertigo pogo stick, Vurtego. They're a company based out of California. They The pogo stick is it's a lot of people when they think of pogo sticks they think of like the classic pogo stick, spring powered. You don't jump very high, you kind of jump a couple inches off the ground. It's kind
Right.
of more of like
Yours
a
is
fun, silly
compressed
thing.
air, right?
Yes, mine is it's fully pneumatic, right? So it's compressed air. The way it works is that it's there are seals and it's a vacuum. So essentially what happens is when you add air pressure to it, the air expands, right? And fills the space of the vacuum. So I generally ride around 80 psi. So the way it works is when you jump, the piston kind of comes up and it compresses all that air in the vacuum. Now, once the air is in the vacuum, there's nowhere else for it to go. It's all compressed. The only thing it can do is try to expand. So what it does is when it gets to that point, and we've pressurized it from 80 psi to, throwing 80 psi in this small of a space, it needs to expand and it kind of launches that piston back out. Which is why we're able to jump as high as we are on the Vertigo pogo sticks. An air spring is much stronger than a normal metal spring can be, and so I've cleared 10-foot high bar on my pogo stick. So, and that's from the bottom of the pogo stick, 10 feet in the air. So, yeah,
Right. I always get people ask me that question. I'm like, I know he's told me something about the compressed air, but that's all I know, guys.
yeah,
I didn't write this down. We were in the middle of a show. He was just bouncing around. I was like, how do you do that? You told me the thing, and I was like, okay, cool. I
yeah,
lost it. I'm sorry. I'm there working sometimes. I don't know. I
yeah.
can't pay attention to everything.
Yeah, I mean, like the technology of it's pretty simple. Like, there's not a
Yeah.
lot of parts. There's not a
Super.
lot of parts to the pogo stick. They're all like the reason the pogo sticks are like relatively expensive, like they cost like 400 something dollars, is because they're really well made. Like I've had that same pogo stick that I use on shows. I've had that pogo stick since I was, I don't know, like 20. So like I've had that pogo stick for like almost 10 years now. So and through maintenance and stuff, it lasts forever. I don't need a new one, so I just get
Shout out to
parts when I need them.
Vertigo.
Yeah.
Right.
Vertigo, I think the best place to get them if you want them is xpogo.com, the letter X, Pogo, .com. They have a shop there where you can buy all sorts of pogo sticks. You can buy the normal spring-powered pogo sticks. You can buy the air-powered pogo sticks that I'm using. You can also check out all of their shows for the X-Pogo stunt team, which I used to be on, where they do, NBA halftime shows, state fairs everywhere. They do school shows. They do all sorts of fun things, and they're doing crazy tricks on pogo sticks. So, yeah.
Which is all the stuff you did. The other question I get is, will you ever do that stuff again, or is that behind you?
I'm still involved. I will never say it's behind me. I was actually kind of thinking about it. We have World Championships coming up in June this year, and I was debating with myself whether I was going to compete or whether I was going to judge again. So last year I ended up I judged the World Championships. So I wasn't an active participant, but I was a judge. So I'm still very involved in the world of extreme pogo sticking. They're all so supportive of my wrestling ventures. They love it. They love seeing the pogo stick get involved. Yeah, I think the world I'm in now is that I will always go to World Championships. It's a great weekend to spend with my friends. But will I compete? I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Then, and you answered my other question I was going to ask, the idea of how did they think? Because, some people can get a little touchy when you start mixing and matching and stuff. So it sounds like they're very supportive of
No,
the
they
rest.
love it. Like pogo, like pogo in general, right? Like it's such a niche, weird thing that like
Right.
it's a very small world. The pogo community. Like I always tell people like. People will always send me clips of my friends and they'll be like, "Do you know this person?" The thing I always say is, I was like, if you see somebody doing a backflip on a pogo stick, it's almost a guarantee that I know them, and it's almost a guarantee that we are very good friends. So, uh, yeah, um, yeah, I love the pogo community, so I don't ever want to not be a part of that.
Right. I mean, wrestling's become very niche as it is, and then for some reason we got love this tribalism stuff where we try to be even more niche on niche. Stop putting hats on hats, guys. Like what you like, just don't be a dick. That's what
Yeah,
Brian Zane.
I don't it's funny like I tend to not comment on the internet wrestling stuff, but I feel like a lot of it's localized to the internet. I mean, like I feel like when you
Agreed.
talk to wrestling fans in the real world, like most wrestling fans just love wrestling, man. They just
Right.
love wrestling. Like it doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's just wrestling is cool and it's fun and it's wrestling. So, I feel like the tribalism stuff lives online a lot of the time.
Online.
So,
Yeah. You know, I guess I should say in September I went to Philadelphia to see all AEW because they were doing a stint at the 2300 Arena.
the
And for
ECW
any
arena.
and yeah, so for anybody who's an OG wrestling fan, that's like I don't know. It's like holy ground, right? So
Yeah.
I had to go there at least once, even if I can't go back in time and I don't have a magic time machine, guys, so I can't go back in time and see ECW wrestle there. That would have been sweet, but I didn't.
You take a picture with the wall?
Uh, well, you know what? Here's the thing. I didn't because that wall is actually in the bathroom,
Yes.
and I felt very uncomfortable doing that,
Fair.
especially because I got the VIP seats or I
Hmm.
got VIP seats. I was front row. So if you go back and watch that collision, you can't miss me. I'm
Yeah.
literally wearing this jacket and a tie and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, right? But we got to go in there like 2 hours early, and I didn't realize it was in the bathroom until I went to the bathroom. And I was in the bathroom, and like the Outrunners and a couple other people were just hanging out in the
Hmm.
bathroom. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not taking a picture now. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like now there's talent in the bathroom. I'm in the bath. Like if it was maybe fans, I think it'd be different. But
Yeah.
I don't want to look like a super creeper taking pictures in the bathroom with like AEW talent right there. Like that's
Totally
super
fair.
weird,
Totally
super
fair.
weird. That would have been so weird. And some people didn't even believe me when I said it was in the bathroom. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
bro, it's in the men's restroom. Like
it
I don't
is.
understand. They're like, really? And I'm like, dude, I why would I make this up? Where would that? It's in the men's restroom. I got plenty of other pictures, and like I said, I can always go back and watch that episode of
Yeah.
Collision and see myself holding up this poster and doing my other shenanigans. But no, I didn't get the picture, and I felt really weird. I went in there because you're just like, oh my god, okay, no, I'm just gonna wash my hands and leave now. I'm just gonna go. And I thought about
Totally,
going, maybe going
totally
back.
fair.
Have you been down there?
Yes, I have. Yeah, yeah, I've been in there. I went to an MLW taping at 2300 Arena, so I was able to get in there and take my photo with the wall, which was fun. So
Yeah,
I was there
no,
when nobody else was in the building though, so it was just
exactly.
like
So that's a
me.
little
Yeah,
different, right?
yeah,
When there's talent in the bathroom, I just want to be like, I don't know, dude. That's other just no, thank you.
yeah,
It would be super weird, so I didn't do it. But it was a great venue. There were some people who were Philly natives that were telling me like how terrible the building used to be back in the day. Like, oh yeah, I used to come here every week for ECW, and this place was horrible. Like the building would be 80 degrees outside, it'd be like 120 in the building. It'd be swelling, and they told me all these horror stories, and I'm like, I believe you. All right, just stop. Just let me look through my rose-colored glasses for at least 10 more minutes before you destroy them on me, okay?
yeah.
Like just let me let me enjoy it, man. Don't kill the vibe. But I could definitely agree. Anytime, and on that same trip I went to the Liberty Bell as you do in Philly. As an American, you go
Yeah.
to the Liberty Bell. Um, and I was wearing a Bullet Club shirt, and I was in the gift shop, and I was standing there, and out of nowhere I just see a hand like this come up to me, and I was like all I just saw was a hand. I was like, oh, okay, cool, bro. I was like, just like boom, okay.
Yeah.
I thought somebody was coming at me. I was like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, yeah. So, wrestling fans, we might talk trash online, but when we see each other in a while, we're pretty chill.
Yeah.
I wore that same Bullet Club shirt the other day to Rad Pro, and somebody was trying to ask me like, what's your favorite, like Kenny Omega or AJ Styles? And I was like, bro, Prince Devitt. What do you mean? Come on, get out of here.
Yeah, I was about to say AJ was never the leader technically, right?
Yeah, no. I'm sure there's some internet theories, but hey, it's just a theory. Thanks for watching. All right, well, it seems like it's that time to wrap up. It's been wonderful sitting here chatting with you, talking with you, getting to have some of those conversations and stuff. I know if JJ was here, she'd want to ask you one question before we wrapped up, though. What do you have to say to the kids that look up to you?
Oh, such a good question. Um, Follow your dreams, like I think you can do anything you want to do, right? Like I think a lot of things. I didn't come from like a really, I didn't. I grew up pretty poor. I grew up pretty lower class. My family, I was provided for, and my family did great things for me. But like, a lot of my stuff I've done has been self-propelled, and I think the biggest advice I can give to kids who look up to me is like just if you work hard and you have a dream, you can achieve it for sure. It's just a matter of, putting your mind to it and doing the things that need to be done to get it done. And it's going to be a lot of hard work, and there's some shit you gotta wade through, but you can do it. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
There you go. You heard it yourself from the man with the Pogo, Milo Mirra. Milo, thank you so much for being here today. For everybody else, as I previously stated, the next episode that will drop will be that special bonus episode. So keep your eyes posted for it. And for everybody else, have a good day.